Welcome to this session of mindfulness, awareness, and compassion practice. What we'll do today, which I do on most of my sessions, is a sequence of practices. We'll try to spend a little longer on each one today, and what we'll do is start with grounding and settling and centering, and then working with mindfulness, which is presence, and then awareness, which is openness. And then we'll do a short compassion meditation. So in the in the Buddhist tradition, there's a relationship between mindfulness and awareness. Mindfulness is paying attention to what's is being in the present, paying attention to what's going on moment to moment to moment. And awareness is some perspective on that, the bigger picture. Awareness of the environment, both physical and mental, that our mindfulness is operating in. The relationship, there are really two aspects of the practice, and the idea ultimately is not just simply to calm everything down, but to develop insight into how things actually work. And for that, you need that kind of perspective. But before you can develop insight, you have to have some settling, some calming of the mind. Sometimes the word in the ancient Indian tradition or in the Tibetan expression of it, the translation is tranquility, calm, peace. Whatever the translation, the idea is that our mind is often very turbulent. Now, our bodies are always in the present moment, but our minds are like a time machine and can spend a lot of time in the past and the future. So to bring them in sync, we do this grounding and settling practice, and then mainly anchoring our awareness in the body and the breathing. The body, because as we said, it's always happening in the present. The breathing, because it is something that we have some control over, but not ultimate control over, because our body's going to breathe. Even if we say, I don't want to breathe for a while, at some point the body's going to say, sorry, we're taking a breath in now. And so we can work with the rhythm of the breathing that's happening by itself and use that to calm and settle our minds. Now, our minds, because we are so used to entertaining ourselves, after a while the mind wants to wander and we go off into daydreams. So the idea of the practice, and in Tibetan, the word for meditation is gom. We'd spell it G-O-M, which means the translation is really familiarizing ourselves. So the idea is to familiarize ourselves with being present when our habit is to spend so much time in the past and the future. So we're changing our habit gradually over time. And to do that, as we sit and meditate, because it's recommended that we sit, because when we lie down, we tend to fall asleep. When we stand up, we tend to want to move. Ultimately, we're going to take this and put it into meditation in action when we do move around through in the world. But to train ourselves, sitting is putting ourselves in neutral, which is the ideal situation. And we want to familiarize ourselves with being able to remain in the present a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. We do that in a non-judgmental way, which means at some point, a thought takes us away. We might be sitting there and breathing and going, oh, this is very relaxing. That reminds me of this yoga class I took. I wonder what happened to that teacher. I really liked her. I think she moved to New York. I really like New York. The last time I was there, I was watching this play, and in 5 thoughts, half a second, we're watching people singing and dancing on the stage in New York. And then at some point, something pops, because our default mode is, again, back to the present. Otherwise, we'd go off into a daydream and never come back. So at that moment, that's the key moment where we have non-judgmental awareness of what just happened. Because we're already back. We just simply make a mental note, that's wandering. Back to the body and the breathing. And to change the habit, we have to have the intention. The intention, it's a necessary intention. So I call this, when I train people in changing habits, I call it the ninja system, NINJA, standing for necessary intention and non-judgmental awareness. So the intention is, I'd like to be more present, excuse me, and the non-judgmental awareness is noticing when we've drifted, without judging ourselves. Just smile and go, okay, already back. Return. What do we return to? You don't have to say, come back to the present. You're already there. Return to the technique I was doing, which is anchoring my awareness in body and breathing. When we do that for a while and the mind calms, then we can go to the second aspect of practice, which is insight. Because just like a lake where the surface is whipped by the wind and it's all whitecaps, you can't see down to the bottom, when it's calm and clear, then you can see. So in fact, sometimes that's the translation of tranquility and insight, is just simply calm and clear. When we can see, then we begin to have insight into the nature of our perceptions, the nature of our thoughts, the nature of our feelings. And when we have perspective around those, we don't take ourselves so seriously. So ultimately, we have a sense of humor about the fact that everything changes, nothing stays the same, and everything is interdependent, interpenetrating, interrelated. So it's not me versus the world. And then everything becomes more workable. So that's the direction that we're going, towards calm and clear. So let's get started. And to have the proper posture for this is helpful, because if we're slumped down, our breathing isn't very, very easy. And if we're kind of leaning back and our chin's up in the air, we tend to get spaced out. So what we want to do is express an uplifted quality. So we sit up, like when we were in school and the teacher said, sit up and pay attention. Oh, yeah, well, that's what we're doing. We're paying attention. That's simply what mindfulness is. So we sit up, upright but not rigid and not stiff. Feel centered by making your sit bones, the weight on your sit bones on each side about equal. And you can shift a little from side to side and find that centering place. You can, without bending at the waist, you can just tilt from your hips a little bit forward and backward until you find that upright, not tilted back, not forward. If you have a bad back or some other condition that you have to lean back, that's against something, that's okay. Just be as upright as you can. To put less strain on your lower back, it's good to have your knees slightly below your hip level. So you can cross your legs in front of you and let your knees open up so that they're a little lower. But if your legs can be, if your feet can be flat on the floor and your knees are still below your hips, that's fine. Find something that you can keep that position. And we want our arms not reaching out forward or pulling back, but just our upper arms hanging straight down from our shoulders, and swivel our lower arms and hands up so that our hands are palm down on each thigh respectively. That's a posture in the Eastern wisdom traditions called resting the mind posture. The uplifted quality can come from feeling like your sternum, your breastbone, raises very slightly up and forward. You'll notice there's a little pinch between your shoulder blades. Your shoulders come back without you pulling them back. It aligns everything by itself. And if you can do that without your chin floating up, your chin also comes in naturally. So that you feel like there's a pretty straight line going from the back of the top of your head all the way down to your tailbone. There's a natural curve to your spine, but it'll feel like it's straight up and down. Let your eyes gently close if they're not closed already. Just notice if there's any tension that you don't need to hold your posture. We often find there's excess tension we don't even realize we're carrying in our face muscles. Let your jaw relax without your mouth hanging open. You want your lips either slightly parted or very lightly touching. Mainly breathe in and out through your nose. If you can, breathe only in through your nose. If some comes out through your mouth, that's okay. Let your tongue relax. If you're comfortable, you can let it rest against the upper palate just behind your teeth. Let your jaw soften, neck and shoulders. Just let your shoulders hang. You might think that they're tension-free until you let them hang, and then you realize that you've been carrying them up near your ears. Upper arms, chest, back, just enough tension to raise that sternum a tiny, tiny bit. Lower back and deep belly, just enough tension in your lower back to keep your posture upright, but you don't need tension and clenching in your lower belly or pelvic region. Let them relax. Let it soften. Let the tension just melt without pushing it out. Hips, thighs, forearms, and hands. Knees, calves, ankles, and feet. Let yourself feel with each out-breath that you're just sinking down, really settling into your posture, into your body. Breathe out and sink down. Really sink into the seat that you're on. Breathe out and sink down. With each out-breath, you'll feel a little more of the tension just flowing down and out of you and into the earth. After about half a dozen breaths, you'll feel a little shift. The feeling of letting be. Now let your awareness rest deep in your core. There's a gentle movement. It's the diaphragm going up and down, pulling air in, pushing it out. But it'll feel like your deep core is gently expanding and contracting. Feel the three-dimensional quality of your body, front to back as well as side to side. It's expanding all the way around, contracting from all directions. Rest in the center there of your core, just in front of your spine. Let your breath happen naturally, being an observer rather than a director. Let your body decide how big or small a breath to take. If your posture starts to slump, leave your awareness deep in your core, but feel the uprightness of your posture. Now gently let your eyes open about halfway. As best you can, leave your awareness deep in your core there. But now you can see the space that your body is sitting in, just a couple of feet in front of you and to each side. We're making a transition towards awareness. Aware of your body, aware of your breathing, aware of the space you're sitting in. And we'll do that for a couple of minutes. Again, if your mind wanders, just when you realize it, smile, reinvigorate your posture, and come back to awareness of the breathing in your core. As the gong fades, refresh your posture. And we're going to be looking further out, so you will want to move your device or your seat so you're not looking directly into the screen, and that you can look out and see the space in front of you. Reconnect with your posture. Raise your sternum a little bit. Feel the breath filling your chest. And let your eyes rest in whatever direction they naturally are, which is slightly below horizon, not looking too far down or straight out and up. And soften your gaze. Open up your peripheral vision. Soften your face muscles. Open up as wide to each side as you can, above and below. Aware of the space extending out in front and around you. Now we shift our focus on the out breath, not so much the internal feeling of the breathing, as riding the breath out, being one with the breath as it goes out. The breath, our actual breath coming out of our body, mixes with the air in the room and diffuses until they become one. In the same way, let your awareness go, instead of so self-centered, out to that. As the breath goes out and mixes with the atmosphere in the room, let your mind open up and be one with the space in front and all around. Rather than your eyes looking at a particular object, soften your gaze so that you're looking at the whole space like you were looking at a landscape, all the way out into the distance. We'll do that for a few minutes. Again, if your mind wanders off into thoughts, a sequence of thoughts, just notice and make, at that moment, go, that was wandering, back to the breath and the space. And refresh your posture if you need to, but maintain the same gaze open to the space. And now rouse some curiosity. Having calmed our minds, we can start to look to develop insight into our experience. Our mind is like the space. Perceptions, including thoughts, are what are the contents. They are what's happening in the space. So be curious. What is it that I am seeing? What visual perceptions are arising in my mind? Colors, shapes, shades of light and dark. Are you seeing things out there? Or is it light coming through your eyes, being configured in your mind to be something or other? We see things as near or far, but are we really seeing them where they are? Or is it light coming through our eyes into our mind that infers near and far? Sounds coming from our device, in the room around us, from far away. Are we hearing the sounds out there? Or are they vibrations coming in through our ears, configured by our minds to be something or other? Our bodily sensations, feet, pins and needles if they fell asleep, a little ache in our back, cloth or skin under our hands. An itch on our face. Are we feeling that in those places on our body? Or are they nerve impulses configured by our mind as something or other? thoughts appearing in our mind, changing, disappearing. Are we intentionally generating those thoughts? Or are they simply arising in our mind? Where are they? Inside our body or outside? Do they have any substance whatsoever? Where do they come from and where do they go? Are they solid things or more like waves appearing on the surface of the ocean and then disappearing? Watch as thoughts appear and disappear. We usually feel identified and one with our thoughts. But in this case, we're looking at our thoughts. What is doing the looking? Mind is the container. Thoughts appear in our mind as contents. Those were the sequences of grounding, then mindfulness, awareness, and then insight meditations. Now we'll do a short contemplation. And the purpose is to generate compassion and loving kindness. Compassion is the wish that ourselves and all beings be more free from suffering and less suffering. And kindness, loving kindness, is the wish that ourselves and all beings can be more happy, at peace, to have more well-being. So first, generate the wish. Even though we can't remove the suffering from all beings, you can have your eyes open or closed, however you'd like. Just the wish. Say, I wish that myself, my loved ones, and all beings could be free from suffering. You can think of the pain, any pain you're feeling, depression, guilt, anxiety, physical pain. Know the pain of your loved ones, and imagine all the mental and physical suffering going on in the world. It opens your heart. Say to yourself again and again, I wish I could relieve all of their suffering, all of our suffering. I wish I could take that suffering from all of them and free them of that suffering. Think of all that makes you happy, makes your loved ones happy, makes everyone, all beings, feel safe, content, at peace. Feel good. Say, I wish I could send that to everyone. Fill them with loving kindness. Take away their suffering. If you'd like, you can join it on your breath. As you breathe in, imagine that you're taking away all the suffering of all beings. As you breathe out, you're sending them peace, health, and well-being, and happiness. And if you'd like, you can go one step further to the causes of suffering and the causes of peace and happiness. Imagine you could take away all the negative emotions of fear, hatred, ignorance, closed-mindedness, greed, jealousy. Like drawing poison out of a snake bite. Imagine that you could take all that, extract it from all beings, and replace it with peace, love, understanding, acceptance, patience, generosity, kindness. Free them of negative emotions. Fill them with positive qualities. Thank you for your practice. And we like to close each session with further caring about others, that we can even put them before ourselves. And you can repeat after me or put it in your own words. May the practice I have just done create more benefit for others than even for myself. And thank you. That concludes this session of mindfulness, awareness, and compassion practice.